I think one of the most surprising things about recovering from mold illness is that you can't detox the body from mold in a bad location. Like as many saunas as you do or detox supplements or binders, it just doesn't matter. The body refuses to detox if it is not in a clear enough location. Now, after I had been clear of mold for long enough and I was doing mold avoidance and I was on the road and I was healing, it was actually kind of surprising to me what detox actually felt like. Like I was like, oh, this is weird. Is this what detox feels like? Because my body had not been detoxing for so long. For years, my body had stopped detoxing when I was living in the moldy house. My BO had stopped. I didn't sweat. I didn't stink anymore. One memory that I have of about 10 years ago, before I was really sick, when I was still living in mold, but my body was able to detox better, was that I always had a lot of sweat and stink, and I was, my armpits stank, and, I was just kind of gross all the time. And that was actually good. That was the body getting rid of the mold. But later in my sickness, when I was the most sick, all of that stopped, and I stopped detoxing completely. One of the ways that I know that what Eric Johnson and Lisa Peterson teach is correct, that is that the body will refuse to detox unless you're in a good enough location, is that when I was doing mold avoidance and trying to seek out these pristine locations, I still wasn't really sweating very much. There wasn't really much going on. But when I finally got to a good enough location, clear enough location, this waterfall of toxins started to come out of me. And what I experienced this as, it might be different for you, was kind of this constant greasy, toxic sweat that I had the desire to shower off of me all of the time, like kind of this feeling that there was like bad stuff coming out of my skin. And one of the things that Eric and Lisa teach is that the goal of mold avoidance is to be able to continue to do that, to have that detox sensation in less clear locations, right? Because nobody wants to live in those pristine locations forever. And so at first I would notice that if I left that clear location, the detox would turn off and I would start to get sick again and start to get symptoms again. And I was like, oh man, the detox is turning off. This is bad. But just like they said, the longer I did mold avoidance, the longer I did extreme mold avoidance and I stayed above that threshold of being clear, the easier it became for me to maintain that sensation of detox even when I was in less good locations, more moldy buildings, more moldy cities, places where I wanted to hang out, where I just didn't want to do extreme mold avoidance forever. And now I'm to the point where I almost always have that detox sensation, just like I did 10 years ago before I got very sick. My body now detoxes. And people say, well, isn't it bad that you're sweaty and stinky and gross all the time? No, because that's the body taking in toxins, because we can't prevent that because we live in, a modern world with toxicity, and detoxing it out. That's much better than the body taking it in and storing it up forever, which is basically what happens when you live in mold and you get mold illness. The body just stops detoxing it forever. I talk a lot more about these concepts in my podcast. If you haven't checked out my podcast already, search any of your favorite podcast apps for Mold Avoidance with Brian Rosner. And happy Thanksgiving. I know it's not Thanksgiving, but my daughter still has the Happy Thanksgiving sign on the wall. So we'll be thankful today and we'll say Happy Thanksgiving even though it is January 2023. Happy New Year.